Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we will be talking about Daniel Gafford. Literal minutes before we were getting ready to go live here, we got reports from ESPN, from Sham Charania, that Daniel Gafford was signing an extension with Dallas. Initially, he reported, we'll get to the details here in a second, but we're going to be talking about Daniel Gafford. Then I'm going to dive into the iTunes mailbag. Then I'm going to dive into the Twitter mailbag where I asked you guys for names that you guys would like covered or discussed or whatever, who you feel like weren't being discussed enough before. So we'll talk about all of that. Obviously, you guys who will be live in the comments, I'll get to some of your questions over the course of the show as well. And we'll have ourselves a nice dandy time. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are watching here live on YouTube. If you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. If you guys are listening to this in the morning via pod, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button wherever you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, because I am an accompany man. And look, if you're listening via podcast and you would like you would like to check out the show in its video form, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. Yeah, man, what a funny turn of events. We'll go ahead and dive on into how all of this played out, what it all means, and where everybody kind of goes from here right now. So, Sham Charania of ESPN tweets out the following. Dallas Mavericks center Daniel Gafford intends to sign a 3-year contract extension worth nearly $60 million, sources tell ESPN. Mavericks officials and Gafford's agents, Mike George and Shai Say of Clutch Ports, negotiated the new deal through 2028-29, the 28-29 season. Nearly $60 million would have put his extension above the amount that he can make to be extended and still be traded right after he signs that extension. So that's why I tweeted out, no earthly idea what Dallas is doing. I guess he can technically still be moved at the deadline, but this feels like turning down the opportunity to land an extra asset for a big they won't have minutes for and a few teams wanted. So I thought they were extending him with the intention to keep him. Then Marc Stein tweets out the following. Daniel Gafford's looming contract extension with the Mavericks is a 3-year deal worth $54 million, league sources say. It has been confirmed since by another, I think it was Grant Afseth in Dallas, who confirmed Marc Stein's number. That's a big difference. And I'm going to lean on my dude, Yossi's, intel on the cap to explain why this is a big deal. He tweets out, this is the maximum amount Daniel Gafford can extend for within the extend and trade limits. He can get a 120% raise off his $14.4 million salary in 25-26, which starts him at $17.3 million in 26-27. Then with 5% raises, it tops out at $54.3 million. All right, cool. That makes a lot more sense. That means he is now more, still a target that the Lakers can acquire. I think the fact that Dallas is keeping him at that number, at least for the time being, feels like a signal to everybody that, yeah, he's probably still on the trade block and very available. They still need backcourt help. Should also be noted that when the Lakers, or if any team trades for Gafford, the number that you need to get to for salary matching purposes is 14 million still, the amount that he's going to be making next year. But yeah, I think that is all, it would all indicate to me that those talks between Dallas and other teams, the Lakers being one of them, I'm told, uh, all of this indicates to me that I think Gafford still gets moved this summer. They have Anthony Davis, who is probably best at the center spot. They have Derek Lively, who is their future in terms of their starting center. And they have Daniel Gafford, who is now extended for the foreseeable future, or for the next 3 years. Outside of that, they just had their other big Dwight not Dwight Howard, but Dwight something, just picked up his player option. So he is still on the roster as well. Somebody in the chat help me out which Dwight that is. So you have 4 centers potentially. Powell, thank you, Shri. The Mavericks still have 4 centers potentially on their books heading into next season. And by the way, Cooper Flagg, who is definitely more of a power forward, but I think eventually down the line could potentially spend a little bit of time at center. And in small ball lineups, they might give him a go there too. So they have an extremely crowded front court. You have PJ Washington still there too, who plays basically the same position as Cooper Flagg. It's just kind of a mess up front for Dallas, and they need to alleviate some of that pressure. And the fact that they kept Gafford's number at a place where they can still move him this summer indicates to me that they also acknowledge the facts there, and will likely look to move him or one of their other centers. But you look at their other centers or bigs who you could be looking to move. All right, PJ Washington, he could probably be moved because he plays the exact same position as Cooper Flagg. So he's certainly a movable target. Outside of him, though, nobody's going to want Dwight Powell, and you're not going to trade Anthony Davis, or they have indicated that they aren't going to trade Anthony Davis. You aren't going to trade Derek Lively, seeing as he matches up perfectly with the Cooper Flagg era moving forward. So that leaves Gafford as the other guy who could potentially be moved here. And that's why I would say this remains very interesting to those of us who have been keeping tabs on the Lakers' pursuit of a center. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here or anything like that. I think Yossi did a great job of breaking it down. I'm not going to go any further there. But as far as the reporting goes, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm just going to hit a quick side note. We'll come back to this here in a bit. I've been thinking about this basically since Adrian Wojnarowski retired, and how information in the NBA sphere has kind of sort of been monopolized by Shams. ESPN's got to love that, because they are now seen as the home for all NBA information. But in a situation like this, where Shams misses on, or potentially misses, I should say, on a key detail that completely changes the outlook of this story, that's why it's so important that information isn't monopolized. We saw this earlier today, where he tweets out that the Indiana Pacers ran further something or other. Sources, Tyrese Halliburton blew his Achilles tendon. We knew that yesterday, and we knew that not just from seeing it on camera, but also his dad told, I believe it was Lisa Salters who was working that game last night, he told Lisa Salters that Halliburton had indeed blown his Achilles. We were good there. And it was so funny how like people treated it as if it was this new information. And when I pointed out, we knew this already, people immediately caped up and said like, no, this is why Shams has this right. It's like, no, guys, like, did we not learn anything from the JJ Redick situation? Because I found myself in the middle of a situation where Woj was telling one story, Shams is telling another story. Those two stories are in direct conflict with each other. And we're acting as if those are the two only purveyors of truth, and everybody else be damned. I remember breaking the JJ Redick story here on the show, and people were like, no, you got it too early. Huh? And here we are again, even further going like further in that direction. Where like Shams is apparently now the only purveyor of truth, and he got this apparently wrong. Now, maybe he got it right, and maybe his information is good. I personally trust Marc Stein for a variety of reasons. One, he's the best reporter on any team specifically out there, period. He is the most plugged in with the Mavs of anybody covering any team, in my opinion. Also, he's a super duper nice guy. Also, he went to Cal State Fullerton, my alma mater, and I'm a little biased in that regard. But in this on this front, Stein reported the number, Afseth confirmed the number, and now we arrive at a place here where a version of the story, if you were just only going by Shams's information, you would have the story wrong, and Gafford can actually be traded. So let's back off on Shams being the only person who gets to control what reality is or is not. All right, let's really quickly before we move into the mailbag and the list of Twitter names here and stuff like that. I want to talk about Gafford specifically, seeing as he is, now in the news and still attainable. So the knock on Gafford is that he's not the best rebounder, which, is not the best defensive rebounder. His positioning defensively isn't the best. He's not the most mobile center. The people that you kind of ask about him too, in Dallas will kind of tell you that, like, yeah, he's a pretty good center. He's probably not the starting center on a really, really good team, though. And I would probably agree. That said, Gafford at $18 million moving forward, or whatever his number will finally be, Gafford at that number with that cost controlled, as we know the cap is going to go up 10% every year, that is a number where he can start if he is going to on your team. But then also, if you acquire a better big, having him as like a really, really good sub or a really good backup center also doesn't hurt you cap wise too much. And because of all of that, because of the timing here, the number that he's at, the fact that he's probably still very much available, and the skill set, right? I was actually super impressed. I got to see him live there when I went and covered Luka's game back in Dallas, first game back in Dallas. I was super impressed by Gafford. Takes up a ton of space. Quick, gets off the ground quickly and finishes very quickly above the rim. Can get way above the rim, which is something that the Lakers are really going to want with Luka. I really like Gafford, and I liked him before this. Now with him at this number, cost control for the next 3 years, I really like him. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Lakers feel about him, though, because they have been very reluctant to take on long-term money. But this is somebody Luka already played with. This is probably somebody Luka would specifically request to continue to play with if he is on the trade market, or as Gafford probably is on the trade market. So this is somebody who I would definitely tell you to jot down in ink as somebody the Lakers are going to continue to try to go out and acquire over the course of the summer until they either do acquire him or acquire somebody else. This is the Gafford rumors aren't going anywhere. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into the iTunes reviews. Ashley Bennett 213 asks or writes, always entertaining, especially shows with Harrison. Thank you very much. One question: what buy low candidates do you think are solid targets? Collins, LaRavia, in the aim of winning on the margins. LaRavia got a lot of pub recently. I saw he did the Lakers Nation pod even. So LaRavia shares an agent with Austin Reeves, and Austin Reeves's agent has a very good is just a really good dude. I've talked about him in the past, and he has a really good relationship with a lot of us who cover the team, and a very productive one. There was that moment where LaRavia was, I think, doing Trevor Lane's other show outside of Lakers Nation, and panned the phone over, and there was Austin driving him around wherever he was driving him around. They're very close because they share that agency, and yeah, I would imagine LaRavia is a name to keep an eye on here for the Lakers. I like him a lot. I'm a little nervous about the foot speed issue there with him, but he has a nice, quick, high release from 3-point range, played really well for the Sacramento Kings last year, became super popular in Sacramento, actually. So we'll see if they even let him get away. But LaRavia is certainly a free agent candidate. I don't think he'll necessarily be available. He'll probably be available for the minimum. Maybe. Although if he goes for the minimum, I just think Sacramento would keep him. So we'll see with LaRavia. I like him as a potential candidate. He does help with shooting, though he doesn't help really with the athleticism in the way that the Lakers need that help there. So he's certainly an interesting one. And then Collins, we've talked about him plenty. I reported that the Lakers and Utah have been talking about John Collins. And he, I really like the idea of Collins. He's a more practical fit, I believe, with Luka than Rui is. Rui is I think a better ISO scorer. He has quicker feet, so he's a better perimeter defender. So the Lakers would certainly miss that a little bit, but Collins can get way above the rim, which I really like. He has a good quick release I think his release is a little bit quicker than Rui from 3-point range. So I like that quite a bit. And he's a bigger guy, so he rebounds quite a bit better and more consistently than Rui does, which I really, really like. So whether the Lakers would be able to find a deal with Utah on two players who are as similar as they are, and then with all the other complications that we've talked about with the future draft capital that Utah owns of the Lakers, that certainly complicates things as well. But I've talked about Collins for a little bit, and for a decent reason, and it's because I knew that we would probably arrive at a place where the Lakers and Utah would be having nice, lengthy conversations about what it would take to get him out of Utah. They have been. He's had fans in the Lakers organization for a little while now. All right, let's just really quickly make sure I don't have any super comments. I do not. So that means I'm going to dive on into the Twitter mailbag. All right, so what I did here's what I tweeted. Didn't do a mailbag yesterday, so we'll go ahead and do one today. For this one, let's change it up. Give me a player you feel hasn't been talked about enough, and I'll give you my thoughts on him and his potential fit with the Lakers. Ready, go. And you guys went. First name off of the bat from my dude, Rich Homie Flom, Robert Flom, my favorite in all of Twitter. Alex Len and Jackson Hayes, you're a terrorist. That is not nice. Next one here from Mr. Come on, Giannis. I'm sure the Lakers are interested. I am also interested, but I don't think Milwaukee is all that interested in trading him. Next one here, At Lakers better, Exum. All right, that's a fun one. We had Dan Wojcicki on the show a little bit ago, and he threw Exum's name out there. I don't know if at the time that was him reporting or anything like that. I think he was more just kind of throwing it out there, connecting dots. Also, again, I think I said it to him yesterday, but again, Dan, congrats on the athletic gig. But yeah, with Exum, just a refresher. Rob Pelinka was previously his agent, so you have that built-in relationship with him. He's a bigger guard who is a streaky shooter. He moves his feet well defensively, but for whatever reason, he keeps on getting hurt. And it isn't really necessarily like the repeatable type of injuries that really make me nervous. It's a bunch of freak accidents. And he's like broken his hand here and there. I'm not that worried about. I think he tore his ACL at one point, which certainly gives you pause with him and his athleticism. But he was able to get a lot of that athleticism back. He is a very solid perimeter defender. I like that he is a little bigger, a little longer, which is something the Lakers, we have the 6'5" and under rule heading into next season. So Exum is a really good name to bring up. He is somebody that the Lakers are going to be interested in, I am told. And especially if they could get him at the minimum, that is somebody who they would happily sign. Now, if he signs at the minimum, I don't see Dallas letting him walk, seeing as they are so thin at point guard already. But if they do, if they consider that they have they're kind of priced out or whatever, then Exum would be an excellent find. Hold on one second. All right. Nimish Toti, I think. I don't know what Miami is trying to do with the crappy roster, but Bam Adebayo is about to get really expensive, and he's proven to be, at most, the second best player on a championship team. Probably third with his offensive limitations. Any chance the Lakers could swoop in on him? I also saw some comments from the live chat here about Adebayo. I had some other people mention on my way into the lounge here today that apparently the Lakers are the betting favorite to land Adebayo. A quick note on the betting favorites thing. There is zero correlation between betting odds and which teams have historically landed that player. It just hasn't happened. It hasn't worked out that way. I hate to burst a lot of people's bubble, and I probably just ended my relationship with those email subscriptions who send out those betting odd numbers. But yeah, there is no correlation whatsoever there. So when you see Dunk Central or whatever tweeting out eyeball emojis, the Lakers, they're the odds favorite to get so and so. The reason that those odds generate the engagement they do is because those bookies know exactly what they're doing. If you put the Lakers at the top of a list for any player here, it is going to generate a whole bunch of engagement, and it works out great for the books who get their name out there in tweets. It works out great for the aggregator accounts that get the engagement from Lakers fans who take that really seriously. The only people it doesn't work out for, well, I guess two factions of people. One, anybody who takes it seriously enough to use that as a predictor for who their team might get. Never works out that way. And two, if you're betting on those things, just Venmo me, please. Please. If you're just giving money away, because those odds aren't based on anything. It's not based on intel. It's not based on it's not like those bookies are going to Shams and it's like, hey, if you had to guess, it's not working out that way. It doesn't necessarily work out that way. So, yeah, I would tell all of everyone to hit pause when you start talking about betting odds on the futures of some of these players. Now, as far as Adebayo and the price and whether the Lakers could get involved, so one of the things I heard, and I heard this secondhand, so take that for what you will, but essentially it really sounds like, and I think I saw some reporters go publicly with this too, but it really sounds like there are two factions within the Miami Heat organization that are at odds with each other. There is Pat Riley, who would very much like to continue to push all his chips into the middle of the table and keep as competitive a team as he possibly can. And then there is the faction of the organization that kind of has their eyes forward and doesn't want to trade Nikola Jovic for Kevin Durant, right? And what that has led to is an organization in the Miami Heat that is just kind of stuck in the middle. It's the worst version of the two timelines problem that ended the Warriors dynasty and that the Lakers have been kind of stuck in to one extent or another. Here in what we're watching with Miami is a whole bunch of people rowing in opposite directions, and what it's led to is an organization that just had to trade away Jimmy Butler for pennies and didn't even get enough in return for Jimmy Butler to make a more reasonable offer for Kevin Durant. And it's just kind of a mess there in Miami. Now, if the Lakers call up Pat Riley and they say, hey, what would it take for us to get Bam Adebayo? He would probably tell the Lakers everything. If the Lakers contact the other faction of the Heat organization, which, by the way, they don't have the built-in relationship that they do with, say, Pat Riley, maybe that faction of the organization would be more interested in moving Bam Adebayo. But at the end of the day, you still have to get Pat Riley's final say, and I just don't see the Heat moving Adebayo for what the Lakers could potentially offer him. For one problem, the Lakers' best asset in those kinds of conversations would be Austin Reeves. And if you send Austin Reeves to a team with Tyler Hero already, then who just got extended, by the way, what does that team look like? What does that accomplish for them? So you're probably looking to involve a third team to send Austin Reeves to. That would maybe send Miami something that they would actually want. But as they just extended Tyler Hero to probably remain competitive, is Miami going to get a combination of players for Bam Adebayo that is better than Bam Adebayo right now? And yeah, I agree. He has his limitations as a player. He tends to short circuit and doesn't show all that much interest in shooting. He's kind of that tweener player offensively where he doesn't really space the floor, but he's also not big enough to dominate in the way that some of these more traditionally sized centers have tended to dominate in recent years. He is, however, for my money, it's between him and Anthony Davis for the two best defensive centers in the sport. And in that regard, you could really do worse for a Jokic team than Bam Adebayo, what he would do for your defense. Problem is, though, like Bam doesn't really get above the rim as high as he would need to. And when he does, you need like the whole runway to get up that high. And I just the fit with not Jokic, Luka, with Luka is just a little clunky offensively. It's great defensively, but it's a little clunky offensively. And if you're going to give up everything that you have to give up to get Bam Adebayo, not even talking necessarily about assets, but we're talking financially here too. If you're going to give up everything that it's going to take, all of the rotation players that it would take to trade for a Bam Adebayo, who, as this poster mentions, is about to get paid, that better be a pretty damn near perfect fit. And it just isn't as perfect a fit as I would like it to be. So I like Bam Adebayo, the player. I think, you know, if the Lakers didn't have Luka and the focus wasn't to maximize Luka's offensive talents, I would say, yeah, go out and do it. But Bam makes just enough money to where I'm not as interested as maybe others might be. The quick side note, which is still related to the stuff that we just talked about here. If you're going to trade for a Bam Adebayo, Nick Claxton to a lesser extent, you can only trade the 2031 first once. You can only trade Rui Hachimura once. It's kind of like the D'Angelo Russell thing last year where would the Lakers have been better off trading D'Angelo Russell for a center than they were for Dorian Finney-Smith? Given, we didn't know that eventually they would make the Luka Doncic trade, but you could only move D'Lo once. And after you made the Luka trade, would the Lakers have been better off with Gafford instead of Dorian Finney-Smith last year, or Claxton instead of Dorian Finney-Smith last year? There are reasonable arguments on both sides of the argument there. My point is, though, that like the Lakers have so few movable assets right now that whenever they move them, or if they move them, you absolutely have to nail the return on those few movable assets. And given how much stuff you have to move for Bam Adebayo, that margin for error is yay big, maybe even smaller. And I don't know. I would rather make a lower risk move than one for Bam, given that it's not an absolutely OJ's glove perfect fit. All right. Let's see. 3-level scorer writes a few players that seem / could be available and are reasonably attainable for the Lakers. Herb Jones seems like everyone but Trey could be had from New Orleans. Cole Anthony, Memphis doesn't really need him. Cam Whitmore, no minutes for him anymore in Houston. And Grayson Allen. All right, so I'll just go really quickly here. Herb Jones would cost quite a bit. And I don't know what Joe Dumars is going to do there in New Orleans. The signals coming out of New Orleans, right? Recently, the reporting coming out of New Orleans is that they aren't looking to completely tear down and rebuild. But what team basically makes it known via leak or whatever? Yeah, we're tearing it down. Come on over. Take what you want. You need some sugar, need some salt. What do you need? What do you need? A lemon? It doesn't really work that way in the NBA. It was like the other day I saw the Jalen Green report from Phoenix. And I think I laughed at this yesterday. I'll laugh at it again today if I did. But like the report that, yeah, Phoenix isn't looking to move Jalen Green right now. They probably weren't looking to move Kevin Durant before the last few months either. But guess what? It's like I always say, you sometimes the league just slaps you upside the face with reality. And the reality of that situation is eventually they're probably going to have to trade Jalen Green. And the reality in New Orleans is eventually they're going to have to tear that shit down and rebuild it because Zion Williamson is one of the more disappointing, highly hyped players of my lifetime. And it costs David Griffin his job, and it's probably going to cost Joe Dumars his job eventually too, because there is no righting all that is wrong with the New Orleans Pelicans. And Herb Jones, he would probably be pretty expensive right now, but I would probably, assume that his price might drop in the next couple of years, the next year or so. And he's certainly somebody that the Lakers could really use. The issue with Herb is he's a better shooter than Vando. So that needs to be mentioned. But there is, like, I always kind of worry about guys who their shots look like they might fade in the postseason. And if you give up assets for Herb Jones and he just turns out to be Vando, like, 1.2, not fully 2.0, but, or 1.7, where he's definitely better than Vando, but he's not so much better than Vando that he actually helps as much as you need him to, given that you're probably giving up Reeves for Herb Jones. So yeah, I I I like Herb Jones. He's a great defender, really gets after it, super long, super athletic in the ways that the Lakers need him to. But as of right now, it seems like he's just a little too expensive for what the Lakers are looking to move or can move. Did I just see somebody say a Bam Wiggins package? That's like $80 million. Like, that's a crazy amount of money that has to go out and get. I gotta look that up. I'm gonna look this up to see how much this actually costs. I know that you might have been facetious here, but still, just for the sake of hashtag research, doing my own research. All right, so Bam makes $37 million. Wiggins makes $28.2 million. That is $65 million. 65. I was a little high on 80. I was about as close to the final number there as Shams was on Gafford's contract, but like 65 mil for those two guys. That's a lot of money to get there. Just again for hashtag doing our own research here. To get there, the Lakers would have to obviously include all of the expiring money they have. So there goes Gabe. There goes Kleba. In terms of assets, you're going to have to give up Dalton. You're going to have to give up Rui in this one. Maybe in this case, Dorian opts in and you send him out the door too. I don't even know. So if by sending Gabe, Kleba, Connect, and Rui, that's $44.7 million. I still need to attach an additional $20 million. 20. Like, Miami, do you want Jared Vanderbilt? Okay. Do y'all want to? Well, no, you're getting Bam, so you're definitely sending Austin. So you finally get to it with Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleba, Dalton Connect, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and Austin Reeves for two players in Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo. When the problem that the Lakers had last year was that they weren't deep enough. That's tough. I don't see that. The Lakers need to make depth forward trades, not consolidation trades. For the sake of entertainment purposes, though, Westwood, that was an incredible question. Very, very well done. We got some super comments here, which means I get to play my favorite clip on this here application. My bad. I mean, it is the Jokic one is my favorite clip on here, but still, let's go ahead and check out these starred comments. Ryan Lucas kicks it off with, feel like LA lands Ayton. The more that I kind of think about it, he's the guy that makes the most sense to me. He really does. Not going to cost a first rounder. Big upside play, given that his value around the league is as low as it is, and he has still produced to the extent that he has. He's averaged a double-double over the course of his career, even while people question his motor. And look, the questions about his motor are absolutely fair too. Ever since Phoenix basically told him they aren't going to pay him after he did the little things for them and led and helped get them to a championship, not a championship series. Sorry. After that was I remember telling, I think it was Raj this, or maybe I wrote about, I forget, but I said you can't get that guy to play that way and do make so many like winning plays by his standard and then not reward him with a contract, because what's he going to do? He's going to be like, well, I didn't get paid that way. I guess I got to get paid the traditional way. And he starts demanding post touches. He starts demanding post ISOs. He starts demanding this. He starts demanding that. He stops doing some of those little things because it gets in the way of doing the things that he thinks is going to get him paid. It turned into a whole ass mess. And I just, you just kind of knew where that was going. But at this point in his career, if the Lakers do trade for him, I would imagine in the run up to trading for him, they would go to him. They would say, hey, man, it's your choice. You come here, you do the small things. At the very least, we'll be interested in some kind of an extension, some kind of a contract at the end of this year, or playing that way, in a Lakers uniform on a team that has championship aspirations. That's going to raise your profile around the league, and you'll probably continue to get paid at least the amount of money that you're getting right now. If you don't do those things, if we trade for you and your motor gives out, or we feel like we constantly have to harp on you for setting better screens and all this stuff, then good luck ever getting anything close to the amount of money that you're currently making. And I like the idea of relying on financial incentive to get the most out of a player. Now, the concern there would be after he gets paid, what does that look like? But again, he got paid for doing certain things. And if you pay him for doing those certain things, or you extend the window in which he continues to get at least the amount of money that he's currently making or close to it, then maybe he turns around and he continues doing those things for you. But it would certainly still be a gamble. And there are some health questions about him. It's kind of hard to tell how much of it is health questions and how much of it is Portland just tanking the last couple of years. He does have actual dings here and there too, but Portland has not been interested in winning basketball games for the last 2 years running. So, that needs to be pointed out as well. But yeah, Darius, credit to Darius Soriano of LFR for coming up with that idea in the first place. It's one that I haven't been able to get out of my head. So Darius, if you're watching, if you're listening, congratulations. You have imprinted an idea in my head that has driven me crazy. The next one, I get boards for days. One, who is the most linked center name you've heard linked to the Lakers in recent weeks? That would probably be Claxton. Have you heard of any interest in Wiggins? The entire fan base, including myself, is fascinated with him on the team. Wiggins. All right. So have I heard of any interest in him? I think right now the Lakers are interested in any athlete. Now Wiggins does make a little too much money for my liking. $28 million is a lot for Andrew Wiggins. He's still pretty good. He's not the player he was a couple of years ago when he helped the Warriors win a championship. He's also had some weird situations where he just like walks away from the team. His dad was sick, and obviously that sits over there. But there have been some other situations there where it's like, you aren't necessarily sure if basketball is his highest priority. And when you have a guy making that much money, that guy better eat, sleep, and breathe the sport. So some of those questions about how driven he is, those are the kinds of things that the Lakers take very seriously. I will say that the Lakers, again, because of their relationship with Pat Riley, I would imagine they are very well in tune with what Pat thinks of what he saw from Andrew Wiggins, which I don't think was all that great. I don't know. But the Lakers have checked in on him. They have asked about what the price would be. The problem, again, with Miami is that they are stuck in no man's land because of the organizational torture chamber they have placed themselves in because of the two factions of the franchise. But yeah, in theory, I get why people like Wiggins a lot. In practice, the thing with Wiggins is that the practical application of Andrew Wiggins isn't always what the theoretical Andrew Wiggins gets hyped up to be, and you arrive at a pretty meh experience sometimes. Andrew Wiggins, I don't know. Drip Show asks, who is the NBA Andrew Friedman that the Lakers can get soon with new owners? Great show. Thank you very much. It has to be Presti, small market GM who, in this case, he literally won a championship. Friedman never, I don't believe, won a World Series with the Tampa Bay Rays. I have to ask Eric if he did. But yeah, it's the clear cut apples to apples situation here. Now, the thing with Presti, or the thing with trying to go out and get a Sam Presti or a Masai Ujiri or an RC Buford or a Bob Myers is literally available. So the Lakers could sign him today. But the thing with what the Dodgers ownership did last time, and I've talked about this a couple times, but it's worth restating. But what the Dodgers ownership did last time was they gave Ned Colletti the opportunity to prove that he should stick around. He didn't, and the Dodgers didn't live up to expectations. And eventually, Colletti was made kind of a consultant with the Dodgers organization, works with Spectrum, and is still around the team, but isn't obviously the lead baseball decision maker. They brought in Stan Kasten, who brought in Andrew Friedman. So I guess if you actually want to ask, who would the NBA Andrew Friedman be, that would be probably Presti. And then, like, who would be the NBA's Stan Kasten? That's a really interesting one. You could maybe say Pat Riley. You could, man, Stan Kasten is a tough one because he's like a president and he was older. So I don't really know if there's a Stan Kasten figure that the Lakers could go out and get. Presti would be more important. Maybe they make Presti the Stan Kasten, and then Presti brings over, one of the bright young executive prospects that he has in OKC with him, and that guy person becomes Andrew Friedman. That's a possibility there too. That would probably actually get Presti out of OKC. Not only the money, but that type of I guess pseudo production and the opportunity to turn around the Lakers organization, all of that stuff. Maybe in a couple of years that becomes a more serious conversation. But for right now, the focus is probably going to be supplementing Rob Pelinka with everything they possibly can to make him a more consistent executive, and then kind of going from there. But great question. I think the more I talk about it, Presti is the Kasten here. Next one comes from Jason Fuentes, who writes, what is the latest news on any center, Kessler? So there was a report that came out today from Utah about their scouting department being impressed with Maluak, the center from Duke. And that is certainly interesting because if they draft a center there, that probably makes Walker Kessler a little bit more attainable. Now, the problem with that, and it's the same problem they've continued to run into in their conversations with Utah about Kessler, is if you trade for the center who makes Luka better, who makes your team better, then that makes the 2027 pick less valuable, and Utah would want to be paid as such for it, and the Lakers don't want to pay as much as Utah wants to be paid for that factor. And that's where their negotiations just keep getting hung up. So yeah, any new developments on Kessler, Not really, but obviously, if they draft a center, then that changes the story, and we'll find out in the next few days what the chances of that actually might be. The next question here comes from Roberto. Kirby, transition one more time, please. If you had to guess from the intel you've heard, who's the center the Lakers acquire? You can. All right, I'll play this because I also enjoy this and I need a drink of water. I love that thing. All right. If you had to guess from the intel you've heard, who's the center the Lakers acquire? Well, on free agency or in free agency, I would probably say Capella would be the guy who I think the Lakers. It's between Capella and Brook Lopez. As far as the TPMLE where that might go between those two guys, basically like whoever wants that, and also depends with the type of center that the Lakers trade for. So if you trade for a Nick Claxton, maybe a Brook Lopez makes more sense. If you trade for Walker Kessler, maybe Capella makes more sense. Either way, I would probably say Lopez is the slight leader in the clubhouse because of his ability to space the floor. We know how much JJ Redick values that, and we know how in tune the front office and head coaching offices have been since they hired JJ Redick. So I would probably say the most likely center that the Lakers acquire, in this case, just by a free agency, that would be Brook Lopez. And then in terms of trade, yeah, I would probably still say Claxton. I would probably still arrive back at Claxton. All right, let's we'll hide that comment. Dive back in here. So at QOC0P writes, what about building through the draft? Tired of getting old wash guys for expensive role players? Forget about Maluak. We have no chance at him. What about the other center prospects? Queen, Maxim, Sorbert, etc. The problem with like building through the draft is you're trying to get Luka so excited in coming back next year and signing long term that if you say, all right, well, guess what, Luka? Yeah, you were in the championship a couple of years ago. Yeah, there were championship aspirations just as recently as a few months ago when we were heading into the postseason. Yeah, we still have LeBron James, and our top priority is going to be winning a championship in short order, you would think. But guess what, man? We're building through the draft. Like, I think that's a really tough sell for Luka. And I think it's a tough sell for LeBron. I think it would be a tough sell for the fans, where it's like building through the draft when you have those two guys. Now, a year or so from now, after LeBron retires, if you want to get younger with some younger, cheaper role players, then sure, yeah, I could probably see that. But in order to grow through the draft, you would have to trade away Austin Reeves for draft capital. You have to trade away Rui for draft capital. You would have to, trade. Well, you can't trade LeBron because of his no trade clause, but you would have to trade like whatever assets the Lakers could work with right now. They don't have very many of them. You would have to turn that into further draft capital, and I just don't think that's what the Lakers are looking to do. While Luka has yet to sign the dotted line on his extension. All right, we have another one here from Cisco Lee. Would it interest you if the Pacers wish to remain competitive and wanted AR for picks or young pieces not named Turner or Hallie? Well, look, man, if the Lakers could somehow turn Reeves into like Nesmith, I'm sorry. Like, I think that dude is going to be a star in his role for a long time moving forward. If you could turn him into Nesmith and Mathurin, and you basically double down on a position of need, then I would probably do that. I'm probably pissing off some people with that take. But yeah, whether it's Nesmith or Nemhard or like any of those guys, Nemhard's going to be their starting point guard next year. So that I don't think they're going to be so non-competitive that they trade away the one guy who has any hope of producing at Halliburton's level. Maybe if they think, remember Austin played probably the best game of his career against them. So maybe if the Lakers basically sell them on Austin, keeping them afloat while Halliburton recovers, then maybe you can get some of those young pieces. That would be interesting. But yeah, I don't want to trade Austin for picks. That's for sure. Unless you're trading Austin for picks that you would turn around and immediately turn into Luka's co-star after LeBron, then okay, I would listen to that type of a scenario. But as far as like what, if the Lakers and Indiana were to talk, the types of players I would be interested in, you're not getting Siakam for Austin. Nemhard and no, you wouldn't get Nemhard and for Austin, I don't think. But it's certainly an interesting. I love the idea of Nemhard kind of feeling like a pseudo like a weird version of Kyrie, where he's a little bit better defensively, can still space the floor. He's not obviously as gifted with the ball in his hands as Kyrie is, but Nemhard defended Shea as well as, or the best of anybody on that roster through that series. And yeah, if the Lakers called up Indiana and said, "Hey, do you guys want Austin to hold down the fort as a primary creator while Halliburton recovers?" Uh, a Nemhard Austin swap would certainly very, very, very much interest me. I would like to know what maybe I'll make that a poll. That would probably piss off. Like my mentions would be a tire fire for a long time, where Indiana fans probably wouldn't like it very much. Lakers fans probably wouldn't like it very much. I think Indiana fans would probably like it a little bit less than Lakers fans right now because they were just in the finals, but it's certainly interesting. It is definitely very interesting. I just, right now, their top focus is seeing what kind of time that Halliburton is going to miss, and then kind of making their decision from there. It's basically impossible to forecast what Indiana is looking to do because their whole world is so shattered right now. Let's see. Any more here from Twitter? I'll maybe take one or two more. There's a lot of names that. All right. Well, Day'Ron Sharp at JH86 guy writes Day'Ron Sharp. So what I do have on Day'Ron Sharp, I had reported at the time that the Lakers asked about Day'Ron Sharp, and Brooklyn came back and told them that it was going to take an additional pick to get Sharp out of there, an additional second rounder that the Lakers didn't want to do that for. Come to find out after the season that was actually spin, that you talk to people closer to Brooklyn and they say that the Lakers asked specifically for Shake Milton, and yeah. Rob and his combo guards, Rob and his buckets. So the it hurts my soul that the Lakers, could have had Day'Ron Sharp. Probably he would be a restricted free agent coming off of probably helping the Lakers in the postseason, and they opted instead for Shake Milton, who, might be a valuable trade asset this summer because of his non-guaranteed contract, But Day'Ron Sharpe is freaking good, man. I really believe in Day'Ron Sharpe. He's like this really physical big who has also been working really hard on spacing the floor. He rebounds like a mother bleeper. Like, he literally has one of the better rebound percentages in the league. He is, and has absolutely no problem whatsoever getting into fights and shit. Like, if somebody was to stare at Luka the wrong way, you'd have Day'Ron like sitting right there, saying like, "Hey, what's good? What's up? You ready?" Like, and the Lakers desperately need somebody like that. So, um, yeah, that one hurt. When I heard that one hurt, and it continues to hurt, really, because Shake Milton is like, you know, not very good, and Day'Ron is, and you could have had Day'Ron for the same price that you got Shake for. See, now you guys got me doing like the angry back of the head scratch. Ask any dad or ask any parent, right? The moves are usually like take off the hat, push the hair back, you know, scratch the back of the head, close your eyes, sigh, count to 5, and then look at whatever your kids just did. That's basically like my view of watching Rob Pelinka GM, where it's like, all right, he did what? He didn't ask about who. He thought who was better than whom. All right. All right. All right. I think that is going to do it for this episode. I'm not going to extend these episodes too long because obviously you have a lot of breaking news and I'll be doing a lot of episodes. So that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. What I will do is I'll go back through that list and maybe write about some of those names for clutch points, seeing as you guys have an interest in them. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. That stuff really, really helps. And then if you guys are listening to this if you've missed any of it, go on back and check out anything you might have missed at the top. Had a good Daniel Gafford discussion a little bit earlier in the show. And then if you guys are listening to this in the morning via pod, hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods, preferably on Odyssey, Company Man. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And I will talk to you. Might be in a little bit. Never know. I don't know. I'm still pissed about freaking Day'Ron Sharpe, okay?